Hello everyone. Welcome to your easy guide to solving English section for CLAT examination series. And now we are in the process of solving the previous year question papers. We've already covered the previous year question paper of year 2025 and 2024, and we've already done the half of the previous year question paper of year 2023. Because this section in the year 2023 there were 6 reading passages, total 30 questions, so it was slightly longish. So we are doing this in 2 parts. So the first 2 passages we've already covered, and from in this lecture we'll start from the third reading comprehension. So I'd suggest that if you have not watched the first 2 reading comprehensions, maybe you can start from there, which is the previous video, and then you can progress on to this one. Okay, so let's dive into our reading comprehension. So as we have been doing that, we'll first glance at the title, then we'll look at the questions, and then we'll solve the reading comprehension. So in this way, we'll looking at the title will tell us what we are going to read about, what the passage is about. Looking at the questions will tell us what exactly to look for in the comprehensions, in the comprehension, and then we will be able to do a targeted reading and solve the questions in very less amount of time. Okay, so this is the process that we have been following, and this is what we are going to do for this also. So let's start. So first question is, okay, sorry, which what was the title? So this is about, the title is Trick Mirror Reflections on Self Delusion. Okay, we get some idea that there is something about delusion is to live in some sort of illusion. Self delusion is that you are living in some illusion about your own self. So trick mirror is, for example, you must have heard of mazes, the mirror mazes, that those rooms where there are many mirrors, and these mirrors have very, sometimes they are warped, that is, they are shaped in a way so that they give you a distorted image of you. So the effect, the maze is created to give an effect of a very different kind of image. Sometimes it makes you look fatter, sometimes it makes you look in a zigzag manner. So it's in the maze it is meant to create a funny effect, a humorous effect, but otherwise a trick mirror is something that is giving you a not the real image of you. So the passage is something about trick mirror, that whatever we are going to talk about is something that is sort of a mirror, but it is distorted and people are looking into it, and they are living in an illusion thinking that this is their real image, but actually the mirror is distorted and they are living in an illusion. Something of that sort is going to be the crux of this passage. So this is, if you understand the title, this much you can get from the in the very first second about the passage. Now let's look at the questions. Which of the following statements can be inferred from the above passage? Okay, inference. So we'll be able to solve this only after we have read the whole thing. All the following statements are truism, except again truisms. Again, since it is written in quotes, I want to assume that this we can come across this exact word truism in the passage. So keep that in mind. And truism is something that is true. Which among the following comes closest to the underlined sentence in the passage? It's as if, so you don't have to read the whole passage, the whole, all the, I mean, everything in this question. Just look at, it's as if we've been placed. So that when you come across these lines in the passage, you are able to recognize that these are the lines in the question. So you will read them more carefully and you will be able to solve them. Okay, so I mean you'll be able to understand the context and hence solve the question. Which of the following is a metaphor? We've already done figure of speech. I hope you remember what metaphor is. Metaphor is something used to compare two words, and it is unlike simile, where as and like are used for comparison. In metaphor, the comparison, the thing that is being compared to, and the thing by which the comparison is done, they are superimposed on each other, or as if something becomes that. So. That's your metaphor. Which of the following categories best describes this piece of writing? Okay, this also we'll be able to solve once we are okay. So let's get to the passage now. So the call of self-expression turned the village of internet into a city, which expanded at time-lapse speed, social connections bristling like neurons in every direction. So from the very first line, you can imagine that the passage is going to be about. It feels like, can't be sure at this point. It's going to be about social media. So the passage is saying that the village of internet turned into a city. That means initially it was small like a village, and then internet grew and turned into a city. So where very few people were connected in when it was small like a village. Eventually with social media and all, it grew and more people came into it, and it became big. And expanding at time lapse speed means like expanding at a very fast pace. So you know that feature in the camera which is time lapse. If you want to say take a video of sunset or something like that, you put it on time lapse, and for the whole night you can leave your camera outside and the whole thing will be recorded, and it will look like it happened in a matter of few seconds, while this whole development was for the whole went on for the whole night. So I'm sure you know what time lapse is. So internet expanded at a very great speed, that is time lapse speed. Social connections bristling like neurons in every direction. Social connections started getting spread in every direction at a very great pace, because more and more people started getting connected through each other in the through internet. At 12, I was writing 500 words a day on a public live journal. By 25, my job was to write things that would attract, ideally, 100,000 strangers per post. Now I am 30, and most of my life is inextricable from internet and its mazes of incessant force connection, this feverish, electric, unlivable hell. So basically, the author is now telling that it's telling its association with internet and how internet has grown. Through its association, the author is trying to paint a picture that when the author was relatively younger, say 12 years old, he was writing public journals on it, which didn't have so many readers. So that's what the use of internet was at that point. Then by 25, it began to be used in its professional life. So he used to write blogs and things like that. So that would attract some 100,000 strangers per post. And eventually now, by the time this person is 30, internet has become almost inseparable part of his life. That's inextricable. His life and internet has almost merged. 24 hours everybody's on the internet, so you do not know where your life ends and your this online life starts. So it's become so in what interwoven in the life of people these days. So it incessant forced connection. So it's incessant, isn't it? Doesn't stop. So it's like it's a forced connection because we've been almost addicted to it by now. So it's feverish, electric, unlivable hell. All this is giving you an impression that this is taking a lot of the life of people these days. I mean, you all can experience it. I mean, you guys are quite young, maybe not at this point. I can very much experience what I'm reading at this point. So the curdling of social internet happened slowly and then all at once. So curdling, you might have heard curdling of milk. So getting spoiled. So something curdles, it's mostly used in the terms of liquid, more often than not for milk. So when milk gets spoiled, sour, it's called curdling. So curdling of social internet happened slowly means that initially social internet was it came up with a with a great promise that it will bring people together, but eventually this promise began to curdle. It got spoiled, and it didn't happen all at once. It happened slowly. The tipping point, I'd guess, was around 2012. People were losing excitement about the internet, starting to articulate a set of new truisms. Yeah, so we come across this word truisms, which was there in the question. So from here on, you might find your answer. So, but the line says that okay, this spoiling of the relationship, this curdling of the social internet happened from somewhere around 2012 when people started to lose excitement about internet and starting to articulate a new set of truism. That new set of true things started to emerge in this development. Facebook had become tedious, trivial, exhausting. Instagram seemed better, but would soon reveal its underlying function as a three-ring circus of happiness, popularity, and circus. So Facebook had become tedious, something tiring, trivial, something unimportant, and exhausting. So these are the set of new truisms that are starting to emerge. Okay, that the Facebook, which looked very promising and very exciting, it started to feel tiring and unimportant and exhausting. And Instagram, which at that point felt that okay, it is better. It's not as tedious as Facebook is, but it would soon reveal. And at this point, we are feeling decent about Instagram, but will soon reveal that it's almost like a three-ringed circus of happiness, popularity, and success. So basically, it's almost like a circus where people are participating and performing, and then they are trying to gain likes and all those things, attention. So that's your three-ringed circus: happiness, popularity, and success. So usually you post because you feel happy about things. Okay, I went someplace. Okay, look at the pictures. Then it starts to become a chase for popularity and success, that I won this award, I became this, because everybody's trying to look great on internet. So this eventually felt like an easy way to share your life with your loved ones, but it turned into three ringed circus of happiness, popularity, and success. Okay. Twitter, for all its discursive promise, was where everyone tweeted complaints at airlines and moaned about articles that had been commissioned to make people moan. The dream of better, truer self on the internet was slipping away. Where we had once been free to be ourselves online, we were now chained to ourselves online. And this made us self conscious. So, we talked about Facebook, we talked about Instagram, now Twitter. So, the author says that while Twitter also felt like a very promising platform where people could talk about complaints, and they could they could talk about other things, but eventually it turned into a platform where only the complaints are going on, where only complaints, people are just complaining, and initially and eventually the articles. So here articles means the media. They also started presenting things in a way that people feel outrageous and they complain, and hence Twitter getting feeding the same thing that it was supposed to help us with. Okay, you getting that? The sense that there was that line, the dream of the articles that had been commissioned to make people moan. So basically, articles are also articles here, media, and those things that are there on internet. People read them and they feel more outrageous, then they go and tweet on Twitter. So that's just not helping the cause that the platform was made for. The dream of better, truer self on internet was slipping away. So we thought that internet is going to be a platform which will give people freedom to express themselves, but that dream is slipping away as these platforms are becoming a place where people are trying to portray an image of themselves. They're trying to show themselves unnecessarily happy, little too successful than their real life. They're trying to just be someone else. They're just trying to perform. Okay, where we had once free where we had been once free to be ourselves online, we were now chained to ourselves online, and this made us self conscious. So, we were supposed to be free us. So, I mean, you can freely say whatever you want to say. So in Twitter, you can see, you can write something, you can raise your voice, and even people in the higher echelon, say ministers and all, could also hear your voice. So it was supposed to give you a platform to be free, but people, they have become chained to themselves. That means that you have become so self-conscious now that you have aligned to, say, one political ideology or to one kind of persona you have built online. You are so chained to it to keep solidifying that image, that you're almost chained to it. You're not free anymore, because now you have a persona and people will not take it in a very good manner if you change it. That, oh, yesterday you were saying this and now you're saying this, because everything is on the record there. So you become chained to your own persona, and this makes you self-conscious that now though belong to this party, or now I belong to I align with this ideology, or with this view, and now I have to keep following it. Platforms that promised connection began inducing mass alienation. The freedom promised by the internet started to seem like something whose greatest potential lay in realm of misuse. So basically, these platforms were supposed to, give to make people feel more connected, because on Facebook and everything you can connect with your long lost friends as well. But it started inducing mass alienation with people trolling. It has started getting misused. People would be getting trolled, and people would there will be so much misinformation. So all these things started showing the curdling that was being talked about, curdling of the social media and the social interaction. Even as we became increasingly sad and ugly on the internet, the mirage of the better online self continued to glimmer. So mirage is an illusion. It often, you might have studied this in physics, that it happens because the light passes through different mediums. So it usually gives an illusion, often seen in the desert, that it feels like at a distance there's some water. It's only because of the dispersion. No, the passing of light through different mediums. So that is a mirage, a illusion. So an illusion of better online self. It continues even if we all know that in social media is making us sad and ugly on the internet. People are trolling each other, people are fighting each other, all that is happening, but still we are so chained by this whole process that we continue to make ourselves look that we are having a great life, and we're continuing to live in that illusion. As a medium, the internet is defined by a built-in performance incentive. In real life, you can walk around living life and be visible to other people, but on the internet, for anyone to see, you have to act, you have to communicate in order to maintain an internet presence. So basically that's what, as I was telling you, that every app is like a performance on social media. So you have to perform to get likes in social media, while in real life you can just exist. I could be sitting and I am existing, but on social media I have to act out to gain attention, and this has become an attention economy. Everybody's trying to gain attention, and in that chase they are trying to act out. They are trying to do so many different things. People are doing these trends are getting viral these days. They are doing just anything, I don't know, breaking rules or taking selfies from weird places, even endangering their lives, because it's become a chase. Everybody has to do something. You cannot be alive on social media if you're not acting loudly. So it's different from your real life. You can just be, you're just existing, and that's how you're alive. Okay, so that's the difference. And because the internet central platforms are built around personal profiles, it can seem first at a mechanical level and later on as an encoded instinct, like the main purpose of this communication is to make yourself good, look good. So basically the all these platforms are built on personal profiles. So each and everyone has a profile, and at the first it starts at a mechanical level that you're just sharing some pictures. What harm can that cause? But then eventually it becomes an instinct to share good pictures, to look good, to the pressure that, oh, I have not posted any travel picture for a long time, so my friends are posting travel pictures. I feel the pressure to go and travel and put pictures of wanderlust and all those things. So it starts at a mechanical level, and it gets encoded as an encoded instinct that you are in the pressure to keep posting. Like the main purpose of the communication is to make yourself look good. Okay, online reward mechanisms beg to substitute for offline ones and then overtake them. This is why everyone tries to look so hot and well traveled on Instagram, why everyone seems so smug and triumphant on Facebook, and why on Twitter making a righteous political statement has come to seem for many people like a political good in itself. So basically, online rewards like likes, uh, comments, and all those things, retweets, and all those things. So all these things, they eventually begin to replace the real life values such as praise, compliments. So these were just some reaction on the online, but eventually they grow so much in importance in individuals life that they begin to feel like real world values, like somebody complimenting you. It's something as real as that, like you're getting a compliment by a colleague in real life. So there's a difference, but eventually it takes over. The online persona begins to take over you. That is why people have to look more well traveled on Instagram. They have to look very successful on Facebook. They have to look very morally and righteous on Twitter, where political statements are very common. So these are the examples that the author is giving, that how people are getting chained to their online persona, and they're almost like, it's like a circus. Everybody's just trying to perform and gain these online rewards. The everyday madness perpetuated by the internet is madness of this architecture, which positions personal identity as the center of the universe. It's as if we've been placed on the lookout that oversees the entire world and given a pair of binoculars that makes everything look like our own reflection. So basically that's what I mean. The author is saying this madness is the internet. It's in the architecture of it. Like we saw that it is based on personal profile. So this is how it is built. This is how it was supposed to be. While it looked very promising that people can express themselves openly, there are no restrictions, and people can be connected to their loved ones. But it's actually the structure is such that it's turned into a madness. It makes personal identity at the center of universe. So everybody's becoming so narcissistic, and everybody's trying to become like the whole universe surrounds around them. That, oh, I've traveled to this place, I'm eating this, I'm sleeping like this, I'm dressing like this, I'm in the gym, I'm this. I. It feels like I is the center of universe. Okay. Now, I think there's a question on the last line as well. It's as if we've been placed on the lookout that oversees the entire world. So basically, the social media feels like we can look at the whole world from it, and given a pair of binoculars that makes everything look like our own reflection. So okay, it's almost like the social media is like those pair of binoculars which are helping us see through the complete all over world. But the tricky part is that it's all the binoculars are distorted, and they are through the binoculars we could see our own image, and rather than looking at the whole world. So it's almost like we are only looking at ourselves, and hence we feel we are at the center of universe. And whatever we are, because in social media you might know about algorithms and all that. Whatever you are thinking, social media will Instagram and all those things, they are going to show those things. They will be in your algorithm, and only those biased, if you have some biases, your biases will become stronger, because the social media will be showing you things on those lines only, on what you're already thinking. So we have that binocular, and we feel like we are looking at the world, but those binoculars are making us look. We are seeing our own reflection and not at the world actually, and we are just being very self-centered. Okay, this is what this whole passage is about. Okay, I hope you've understood this. It's very real passage. Now let's try to solve the questions. Which of the following statements can be inferred from the passage? So we've understood that this passage is actually telling about how internet and social media started with the promise of being a platform for liberation, for expression for people, for bringing people together. But eventually it has curdled, it has got spoiled, and it has turned into a universe where people are becoming narcissistic, and they are just performing for the social media, and rather than getting connected and expressing themselves free, they are getting chained by their digital persona. Okay, this is what the broad this uh, inference of the passage. But let's see what these options are saying. So the internet expanded very slowly. No, it expanded at time lapse space, as we read. The internet can be used to cause harm. Okay, let's see. The internet is addictive. Okay. The main purpose of social media platforms is to dissuade people from showing up. Okay, no, that's not possible. I mean, that's not even making sense. That to dissuade people is to discourage them from showing off. That's exactly opposite. So the right option will be option B. The internet can be used to cause harm. While it was supposed to be very promising and platform for good, it can be used to cause harm. So the exact lines in the passage are: the freedom promised by the internet started to seem like something whose greatest potential lay in the realm of misuse. So people can troll each other, people can spread misinformation, all those things are also there. So greatest potential lay in the realm of misuse is telling us that the inference is that internet can be used to cause harm. Okay. All the following statements are truisms except A, the internet has changed the way the world works. B, a preference for cat videos can reveal a lot about your personality. C, like with any tool, digital technology has both advantages and disadvantages. And D, only time can tell what future holds. So suppose although if you were reading and the moment you came across the word truism in your passage, you should immediately come back to this question and have a look at it, and then solve it if you can. If you cannot, just mark it there and maybe move ahead. You cannot waste a lot of time. So but if you are not able to find an answer, you should always look for the most moderate option. That will be your answer. uh, sorry, it is asking except. I'm so sorry, while explaining I lose my concentration from the question. So it is asking for except. So all are true except. So which of the following is not true? That's what the question is asking. So of course, option B, a preference for cat videos can reveal a lot about your personality. Of course, that's not a truism. Both the rest of the option A, C, and D, they are all general truths. So option B is which is not a truism. I mean, It's not a general truth. That's what truism is. Okay. Question 13. Which of the following comes closest to the underlined sentence in the passage? It's as if we've been placed on a lookout that oversees the entire world and given a pair of binoculars that makes everything look like our own reflection. So we've discussed this. Let's look at the options now. The way we use the internet says a lot about who we are. Okay. The internet has reduced the distance between people living across the world. I mean, that's not what the this passage is saying, because we're talking about binoculars and looking at our reflection and all those things. That's not getting justified by this option. The internet has the ability to customize what we access based on our identity. Okay. The internet only shows what we don't want to see. Of course not. I mean, that's not the case. Why would otherwise anybody use the internet? So the correct option is option C. The internet has the ability to customize what we access based on our identity. So internet actually shows what you want to see and what you believe in, and it rather reinforces your belief system rather than showing you the truth. That's what these lines are saying. Binoculars that make everything look like our own reflection. This is what the statement is also saying. Access based on our identity. So if you believe in something, the internet will reinforce that belief. It will not try to show you the truth. That's not what the internet is doing anymore. So option C. Which of the following is a metaphor? The village of internet, this feverish, electric, unlivable hell, the three-ringed circus of happiness, popularity, and circus. So all the above are metaphors. So village of internet is a metaphor comparing internet's early form to small familiar community, a village. This feverish, electric, unlivable hell is a metaphor for how overwhelming the online world would feel. The three-ringed circus metaphor for performative culture on Instagram. Everybody is trying to perform for the likes and whatever all other reactions are. I really don't use it, so I don't really know. Which of the following categories best describes this piece of writing? Non-fiction essay, B fiction. Is it fiction? Is it like something that has been thought of story, not unimaginative story? It's not that. Is it an academic paper? Definitely not. Is it a poem? It didn't feel like one. So it's of course a non-fiction essay. You do understand the difference between fiction and non-fiction. Fiction is imaginative. A non-fiction is a real one. So it's a non-fiction essay. So it's a reflective, analytical, and opinion based piece. So it's a non-fiction. Just a second. So it's a non-fiction essay. Sorry. Okay. So now let's get to our next passage. That is comprehension number 4. So what is this passage about? We will know by looking at the title. At the mercy of water mafia. So it's going to be about illegal water trade that goes on. So at the mercy of water mafia. You know what this passage is about now. Let's quickly glance through the questions. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? All right, we will be able to answer that only after we have read the passage. Which of the following used in the passage suggests that illegal supply of groundwater is not a recent phenomena? Okay. So if you know the meaning of these words, you will be able to solve this question at this point only. Entrenched, ubiquitous, long-term water security, and fast depleting common resource. Now, entrenched means something that is deep-rooted. So this should be most likely your answer. Ubiquitous is very common. So this can confuse some people, but option A, something that is deep-rooted, will show that it has taken its time to deepen its root. So that is why it's not a recent phenomena. But okay, A and B can be confusing for some. Long term water security, because I understand in the examination hall it is very difficult to think so with so much clarity. Doubts come. So while in the in the present scenario you would be like, no, I can imagine it's A only, because deep rooted means something has taken time. For example, a tree growing will have to deepen its root, and it will take its time. So entrenched, if it is deep rooted, it would mean it is not a recent phenomenon. It has taken its time to become solidified as a structure. But in the exam, sometimes it gets confusing. So we can actually read the question and read the passage and then get back to this one. Option C. But if you do not have time, if you think you do not have time enough, if you are like already thinking that is, if you do not like save time, you might miss on questions. At this point, just take a call and looking at the meanings, just mark this. Long-term water security. Long-term water security is not even making sense. That illegal supply of groundwater is not a water phenomena. There is no relation. Fast depleting common resource. Again, these two terms have no uh, relation with the illegal supply of groundwater being recent or an old problem. Okay. Which of the following seems to be the author's main concern in the passage? Okay. Again, we'll have to read the passage for this. All the following are sounds you can hear as the water tankers are filled, except. Okay. So we look for these words: creaking, thrumming, groaning, gushing. These are just four words. You can just read them at the time of reading question, and we'll look for them in the passage. Okay. Let's look at the next question. Which of the following words from the passage means hidden? So again, you can solve this here itself. So the synonym antonym based questions, if you know the meaning, you can solve them uh, at the time of reading the question itself, because there is nothing new you will gain if you know the meaning. If you do not know the meaning, then you will have to read and you'll have to understand the context. So the word hidden, it means hidden means something that is not visible. It's hidden. So the option D, covert. It also means something is hidden. Illicit is something that is illegal. Idling is something sitting idle, left to on its own. Subversive is something that is disturbing, something that is causing some sort of destruction or something. Okay, that's subversive. So, okay. So we've read the questions and we have solved two questions, and maybe now we can read the comprehension. Down by the sandy banks of the Yamuna River, the men must work quickly. At a little past 12 a.m., one humid night in May, they pull back the black plastic tarp covering the three boreholes sunk deep in the ground. They then drag thick hoses towards a queue of 20 odd tanker trucks idling quietly with their headlights turned off. So we see there is a picture that is being painted by there is Yamuna River. By the side of Yamuna River, there are so many trucks standing and their headlights are turned off. So the driver is trying to show there is this thing, whatever is going on in a very uh, covert manner, in a hidden manner. Okay, so, and this is all is happening in the pitch dark at 12 a.m. at night. So in May, so it's dark and the headlights are also turned off. So some sort of secret operation is going on by the banks of Yamuna River. Uh, while one man fits the hose's mouth over a borehole, another clambers atop a truck at the front of the line and shoves the tube's opposite end onto the empty steel cistern attached to the vehicle's creaky frame. So basically, there's a hose is a it's a wide pipe. So one end of the pipe is in getting inside the borehole by the bank of Yamuna River, and the other end is taken to the truck, which is filling the water. Okay, where was I? "Onkar," someone shouts in English. Almost instantly, his orders to switch it on are obeyed. Diesel generators housed in nearby sheds begin to thrum. So the moment you come across this word thrum, because it was one of the options, just mark it. Creaky also just mark that word because it was also there in the options. So you have to, so you do realize that you have to keep the information you've gained from reading the questions in your mind, so that the moment you come across those in your reading comprehension passage, you are able to identify them and mark it. Okay, so thrum is there, creaky frame is there, just mark these. So the basically at this point the passage is saying that the whole process is going on, that the pipe is being taped, one end of the pipe is taken to the borehole, the other end is taken to the truck, and they're trying to switch on the diesel generator which is making a sound, and this generator when switched on will try to pump out water and fill up the tanks in the truck. Okay, submersible pumps installed in the borehole's shafts drone as they disgorge thousands of gallons of groundwater from deep in the earth. Again, drone is the one of the options in the question. Mark it. The liquid gushes through the hose and into the truck's tanks. Gushes is also one of the options. Just mark it. So even suppose if there are four options and the four words are mentioned in those options, if you do not remember all four, if you remember one or two also, now that's also good enough, because you will be able to locate other words also nearby. It would be best if you can remember all four. That will save you a lot of time. So when you're reading the questions, you have to be very selective in reading and very focused in reading. So you can keep those words in your mind. It requires a lot of practice, but it saves you a lot of time. So the liquid gushes through the hoses and onto the truck's tanks. The full trucks don't wait around. As the host team continues its works, the driver nose down a rutted dirt path until they reach a nearby highway. So basically, the after the water is filled in the tank, the trucks, they do not waste any time and they just really leave fast from that space. So because we have sensed that this thing is going on in a very covert manner, it's going on in a hidden manner. So as soon as they are filled, they just leave and they do not even switch on the lights until and unless they reach the highway. So they are trying to keep the whole thing undercover. Okay. They turn on their lights and pick up speed, rushing to sell their bounty to factories, hospitals, malls, hotels, apartments, hutments across this city of 25 million. So bounty here means the water that they have pumped out of Yamuna. So they take, so now their trucks rush and they rush to sell the water that they have pumped out to factories, hospitals, malls, and even the poor huts that are around the area to them also. So we are talking about a city of 25 million. I think Delhi is the city in context. Everything about this business is illegal. Now the author is clearly telling us that everything is illegal that has been going on. We were already getting a sense because they were trying to hide everything. So now the author is making it clear enough that everything about this business is illegal. The boreholes dug without permission, the trucks operating without permit, the water sold without testing or treatment. So all these things, they are illegal. Water work is night work, says middle-aged neighbor who lives near the covert pumping station. So we see this was the scenario around a pumping station. All those diesels and diesel generators and all things were there. So covert pumping station, that is, that is hidden sort of, and requested anonymity. So this person is, like in the newspaper you come across this line that this person said something, and this person, they do not reveal the name of that person because that person does not want to be identified. So bosses arrange buyers, labor fills tank, the police look the other way, and the muscle makes sure that no one says nothing to nobody. Teams like this one are ubiquitous in Delhi, where the official water supply falls short of cities' needs. So ubiquitous means very common. So basically, this whole ecosystem is being described now, that this is a ecosystem of water mafias. That there are bosses who arrange buyers, then there are laborers who will be filling tank, as we saw in the first paragraph, that somebody puts the hose in the borehole, somebody puts the hose in the other end in the truck. So there are laborers, then there are police also, because there is nothing in the area that can go on for a long time without police knowing it. So they are also in this part of this whole operation. So there is this whole ecosystem, and this has been going on for quite some time in Delhi. And the Delhi is already facing water shortage. That means there are a lot of people who are not able to get water, and these people are these all ecosystem that was just described. They are illegally pumping water and selling to the people who cannot get water from the government. So there are a lot of people in Delhi who do not have piped water supply. Okay. A quarter of Delhi's households live without a piped water connection. Most of the rest receive water for only a few hours each day. So residents have to come to rely on private truck owners, the most visible strands of a dispersed web of city councillors, farmers, real estate agents, and fixers who source millions of gallons of water each day from illicit boreholes and sell liquid for profit. So basically, as the passage itself is telling, that only a quarter, only one fourth of Delhi's households live with, sorry, without, okay, a quarter, that is for 25%, there is no piped water connection, and for rest, a major chunk of the other, they get water for very less amount of time. So their water needs are not met, and that is why this whole economy of people illegally sourcing water and selling it to these people has propped up. Okay. So it has farmers, real estate agents, fixers, councillors. Councillors are the political leaders. Farmers from whose land this boreholes will be dug. Real estate agents are also involved. Fixers, I mean, many intermediaries are there in this whole operation, and they are pumping gallons of water in an illicit manner. Okay. The entrenched system has a local moniker, the water tanker mafia. So this entrenched. So entrenched means this very structured, systematized. Something entrenched is only possible when it has been going on for a long time. So everybody knows their role, everybody is aware of the whole process, where at what time will the trucks arrive, at what are the locations, at what time the operation will start, at what time the operation will end, who all are the people involved. So all these things, they take time, and when it is all set, that means a lot, everybody is aware of their roles. That means a lot of time has passed, and now this is entrenched, everything is fixed now, it is now deep rooted. So this shows that this process has been going on for quite some time. That's entrenched system. It has a local moniker, that means it has a name, that is the water tanker mafia. So all these people that were talked about, farmer, real estate agent, fixers, they are all part of this gang of water tanker mafia. A 2013 audit found that the city loses 60% of its water supply to leakages, theft, and a failure to collect revenue. So, because of these mafia, a lot of revenue is also missed by the government, because so much water is stolen illegally. The mafia defends its work as community service, but there is a much darker picture of Delhi's subversive water industry, one of a thriving black market populated by small time freelance agents who are exploiting fast depleting common resource and in turn threatening India's long term water security. So these people who are a part of this mafia or this gang, they think that they this believe that they are doing community service because they are taking water to the people who are not able to get water from the government service. But that's not really the case. It's a very darker picture, that these are, first they are stealing water, and hence they are depleting the common resource. The groundwater is a common resource, they are depleting it, and hence endangering the long term secure water security. Okay, so when government does something, it does in a very sustainable manner. But when these people are stealing the water, so they are doing it in a very unsustainable manner. The boreholes are dug in a very bad manner. Sometimes they cause water pollution, and then this water is not treated also. So all these things, they might say that they are doing what community service, but that's really not the case. Okay, so this was the picture painted by this comprehension, that the illegal water trade is going on, and there are many people in this, and it is actually causing a lot of problem. It is endangering the long term water security of the region. Now, which of the following can be inferred from the passage? The water tanker mafia's operation, though illegal, are justified given the vital service that they provide to the people of Delhi. So the passage is not justifying it. In fact, the passage is saying that while they justify it, that's really not the case. They are endangering the long term security. The water supplied by the water tanker mafia is potentially contaminated. Option B. Okay, that sounds fair. I mean, that's what the passage is saying. Option C. Private truck owners play the most important role in the operations of the water tanker mafia. No, everybody has some or the other role. Like farmer has a role, fixers have a role, truck agents also have a role. So everybody has a role. That's not like the most. That's like not the inference we can get. The water supplied by water tank mafia is meant primarily for residential use. No, that's also not the case. We saw that they are serving it to malls, to hospitals, to even huntmen. So they are like serving it to many categories of people. So the correct option is option B. The water supplied by water tanker mafia is potentially contaminated, because there's a line that says water sold without testing or treatment. So this implies potential contamination also. Which of the following used in the passage suggests that the illegal supply of groundwater is not a recent phenomenon? So we've already done this. Option A, entrenched, which means deep rooted. Which of the following seems to be the author's main concern in the passage? A. Delhi's water supply infrastructure does not adequately cater to all its residents. Okay, this is a concern, but this is not the main concern of the passage. The illegal operations of the water tank mafia do not depend on the complicity of range of actors, including the police and city councillors. So do not miss the phrase "do not." Okay, do not shows that this is wrong, because it does depend on the complicity of all these actors: police, city councillors, farmers, real estate agents, truck drivers. All those are complicit, and they are the one who are sustaining this illegal operation. The petty profiteering of a few actors comes at the immense cost of India's sustainable access to water. So that's your option, option C. So basically, all these people who are involved in the operation, if they are profiting at the cost of long-term sustainable India's success, sustainable access to water. Sorry, sustainable access to water. So if Like I said, if the government does something, they do it in a very planned and sustainable manner. But these people, they are just uh, covertly getting as much water as they can and selling it to the people whosoever is ready to pay the best price. So the passage says, a thriving black market exploiting a fast depleting common resource and in turn threatening India's long-term security. So this is what the main concern of the author is in the passage. Okay. All the following are sounds you can hear as the water tankers are filled. So I am hoping that when you were reading, you must have encircled these points. So diesel generators begin to thrum, submersible pumps drone, the liquid gushes through the hoses and into the truck stack. So what is left? Creaking. Now some of you might get confused that there is also a creaky truck frame, a term that is used there. So it is not the used as a adjective. It's not making the sound effect here. So it's just creaky. It's sorry, it is used as an adjective because it is explaining the quality of the frame. It's not a sound. So that is why do not get confused. The option creaky is the one that is not mentioned by the water tankers. Okay. Which of the following words from the passage means hidden? We've already covered this one. This is illicit. No, sorry, this is covert. Illicit is illegal. So option D. Now, let's get to the next passage. No, sorry. Sorry. We first read the title, that is Dreamers, How Young Indians Are Changing the World. Okay, so it's something about the youth and what they are doing. Okay. Let's quickly look at the questions. Which of the following can be inferred about the author's views on English in contemporary India? Okay. Who among the following would defy Chetan Bhagat's neat categorization of Indian English speakers into E1 and E2? So the moment we come across this categorization in the passage, we will be able to find our answer there. Which of the following best describes the author's response to Bhagat's views on English? Okay, so whenever the Chetan Bhagat's views come, we have two questions on that from that portion. So we will be very cautious in reading that part. Which of the following can be inferred from Gandhi's views with respect to English in post-independence India? Again, the moment we come across Gandhiji's reference, we'll pay attention to that. All the pairs of words are synonyms except, like I've told you, synonyms and antonyms. You can solve these questions right at the point of reading the question if you know the meaning. So let's try to do that. Stark and sharp. They are synonym because stark also means a stark reality, something that is very clear, evident. So that is stark. Sharp is also something very clear and distinct. So they are pretty much similar in meaning. Let's look at option C, crusade and campaign. So they are all both have a similar meaning, that they both are some sort of movement or some sort of for a cause. Crusade, if you might have heard of the term crusaders. There was a point when in the history when Christian crusader forces were there and they would fight for a cause. So for fighting for a cause is crusaders. Campaign is also similar thing, some sort of social movement or a cause. Cohesion and unity are also similar things because they are both um, about act of sticking together or being joined. So option B, that is sophisticated and spoiled. These are the words they are not that are not synonymous, because sophisticated is something refined or cultured, spoiled something that is gone spoiled, that is not good anymore. So they are not synonyms. So option B is your correct option. You can solve it at this point if you know the meanings. If you do not know the meaning, then maybe we can read the passage and try to understand the meanings from the context. Okay, so this was all. Now let's start reading the passage. English encodes class in India. It does so by sliding into the DNA of social division: income, caste, gender, religion, or place of belonging. So basically, the passage is saying that English has become a status symbol, and it also deepens the already existing social divisions. The social divisions based on income, caste, gender, religion, or place of belonging. All these divisions are already existing, and because of the impact of the importance that is given to the spoken English in our country, these divisions are even more further strengthened, because somebody in a higher income group would have better access to English medium schools, so their English will be better. Again, somebody more often than not, people belonging to higher caste have better access to English education, so they also have good English. So English getting attached to the status or somebody's importance is, again, it's already very discriminating. It is at the same time, it is also strengthening the already existing divisions in the society. The threat it poses to social cohesion has worried political commentators across the political spectrum. So again, it's social cohesion that is because of this impact, it is posing a threat to the social cohesion of the society. In an address delivered as uh, Independent India's parliament dilly-dallied over the suggestion to replace English with regional language as the medium of instruction for higher education. Gandhi said, "This blighting imposition of a foreign medium upon the youth of country will be counted by history as one of the greatest tragedies." So the moment you come across the reference of Mr. Gandhi, you know your question. There's a question on this part, and so you just be mindful of what you're reading. Gandhi's statement, because the question is specifically about Gandhi's statement. So read it carefully. So this portion is basically about that at the time of independence in the parliament, there was some debate about replacing English with the regional language as a medium of instruction. So dilly-dallying means there was some hesitation amongst the parliamentarians about this, because we also needed a common language, but then we also needed not impose a foreign language on the youth. So this is the dilemma that the parliamentarians were discussing. So they were dilly-dallying over the suggestion of replacing English. So in this context, what did Mr. Gandhi say? He said this blighting imposition of a foreign medium. So basically criticized that, this imposition of foreign language, of English language on the youth will be counted as by history as one of the greatest tragedies. So this will not be taken in a very good light in the history. But this will not be looked upon in a very favorable manner in the history of our country. So this is basically it's an imposition of foreign language on youth. This is what Mr. Gandhi is saying. Would you like to look at the question and see what the question is and if we can solve it at this point? Mm, 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 mm. So here we have to move on to the slides, but in the question paper it will be right in front of you. So it's a matter of just looking down. Okay, so don't think that this is a time-taking thing. Which of the following can be inferred from Gandhi's views with respect to English in post-independence India? So English should not be taught as subject in Indian universities. This is kind of radical. Mr. Gandhi is not being this radical at this point. English proficiency is vital in order to gain entry into the bureaucracy. Indian women cannot get rich if they do not know English. So option B is, option C is not making sense. Option D is also, option B is the right answer. Okay, I am so sorry to have brought you here earlier than we came across we read the whole thing. I didn't read the part. Our boys think and rightly in the present circumstances that without English they cannot get government service. Girls are taught English as a passport of marriage. So we see the whole quote starts with this and ends with the marriage. So we should have read the whole thing. So basically, this is what Mr. Gandhi is saying, that in the present circumstances, without English, people cannot get job, and girls are being taught it as taught English as a passport to marriage, so that they look educated and hence they are married in a better house. So this is what is being criticized by Mr. Gandhi. So option B in this question is where is the question? Mr. Gandhi's question. So option B, English proficiency is vital in order to gain entry into the bureaucracy. That's what Mr. Gandhi is saying. Our boys think and rightly in the present circumstances. That means that this is how it is at this point. It is important to get a government job into a bureaucracy. Okay. Okay, let's get further in the passage. 100 years later, the language continues to be seen as a tool of exclusion. The problem now is about inequality of access. To be denied English is harmful to the individual as well as our society, writes Chetan Bhagat, self-appointed leader of a class war set off by unequal access to English. So, up until now, the author was painting a picture of of India at the time of independence. So, at that point, English has been the undue importance that is given to the English language is problematic, and and the author is painting a picture starting from the origin of India. That is, origin of India means independence of India, not origin. India is an ancient country; it has existed for a long time. So sorry, right from the independence of India. So it firstly gave us a glimpse of how things were when India got independent. There was some debate in the parliament. Mr. Gandhi criticized it. Now we have not 100 years later, but a lot of time has passed, and now English continues to be a problem. It continues to be a tool of exclusion. And now it's not the problem that the foreign language is being imposed. The problem is that not everybody has access to English. So the inequalities are getting entrenched, they're getting deep rooted. So Mr. Chetan Bhagat, who is being called a self-appointed leader here, that means that he is himself given this title of, being a leader of this whole debate or the war about English as a, exclusionary tool in the society. Chetan Bhagat, where was I? Bhagat. Bhagat, an engineer turned investment banker, wrote his first college romance in English in 2004. Then, only a certain kind of person, someone who grew up reading, writing, and speaking the language, wrote books in English. Big words, long sentences, literary pretension, heavy with Orientalism. In the past 10 years since, Bhagat put popular in the popular English fiction. He has written 6 other novels and sold millions of copies, all told. So basically, the author is now describing Chetan Bhagat, that how he is also, he portrays himself. If whether he is really a leader or not, we do not know. But he portrays himself as a leader of this whole debate of English being exclusionary and the language of elites and not the language of masses. So the author is now describing us who Chetan Bhagat is and what his role is in this debate. So basically, he's an engineer turned investment banker, and he wrote his book. I think that was 5 Point Someone, the first book that he wrote. And so his books were written in a very simple English. That is why it was more accessible to a larger number of people, because otherwise the English language that was written was in a relatively uh, more difficult. It used to have big words, long sentences, and literary repetition means showy language. So it was not accessible for everybody. So somebody who does not have a very good command of English and is not very familiar with heavy, flowery language would not be able to read the novels up until this point that Chetan Bhagat started writing. So he put the popular in English fiction means that popular. It made it it brought the English language novels to masses. So even when we were pursuing our English literature degrees, we did not look at Chetan Bhagat in a very positive light in those days, because we thought that he writes just cheap English and there is not much depth in his writing. So the elite section used to look at Chetan Bhagat like that, but Chetan Bhagat made English popular. He used this easy language so that people, more and more people can read and understand novels, and they develop this habit of reading. So he made English fiction more popular because, of course, his novels became very popular. He sold millions of copies, and people liked to, read English stories and relatively easier. So he increased the accessibility of English novels to a larger number of people. With every new book, all written in deliberately simple English, Bhagat has recruited thousands of new soldiers in his crusade against what he calls the caste system around the language. Bhagat even has a term for Indians who have English, that is even. So basically, Bhagat says that he's deliberately writing in easy English so that he's able to develop this reading habit, and he's able to bring these English novels to larger number of people. And he's also saying that because the English language has been existing in the society in a manner that it has been only limited to a small section of elites. So he's trying to increase the access of English language to a larger masses. So he has divided, Mr. Bhagat has divided the society in two parts. One, the elites, and he calls them even, and the other, the masses, who do not have that command over English. I mean, they understand English, but they do not understand that flowery, flowy English, because they've not studied. They're not the second generation. Their parents didn't speak in English. They have not studied in the very hi-fi schools that teaches English from a very early stage. So they do understand English, but not, they're not that deep in this whole English culture. So the even the elites who have English speaking parents, gone to English medium school, so they have a better command, so they can uh, speak flowery language. So that's the categorization basically. But let's see how the passage describes. These people had parents who spoke English, had access to good English medium schools, typically in big cities, gained early proficiency, which enabled them to consume English products such as newspapers, books, and films. English is so instinctive to them that even some of their thought patterns are in English. These people are much in demand. The people even presumably controls through a nexus of privilege built on ownership of English are E2, probably 10 times the evens. They are technically familiar with the language, but If they sit in an interview conducted by E1s, they will come across as incompetent even though they may be equally intelligent, creative, or hardworking. So basically, this categorization is that there is one section that is E1, that is elite. They've had a privileged upbringing, and so they have better access to English, and that is why they get to the position of power. They get to higher positions where they can interview people. And then there is a section of E2, which is bigger, much bigger in number than E1, almost 10 times of the people in the E1 category, and they do not have. They've not had access to English from at such an early stage. They have not been as privileged as the people in E1 category, but they technically understand the language. But English is just a language, it is not a test of your intelligence. So if these people sit an interview often taken by the people in the even category, because they are of course privileged, so these people might come across, the E2 people will come across as incompetent because they are not able to express their views in a foreign language, because they are not that good with the spoken English, but they are equally intelligent, creative, and hardworking. So that is the problem, that is the crisis that has been painted at this point. The situation may not be so comically stark. Now, up until this point, we were looking at Mr. Chetan Bhagat's views, how he is viewing society and how the division of English language is being talked about by Mr. Chetan Bhagat. But now the author is saying, author of this passage is saying that the situation may not be so comically stark. The haves and have nots may not exactly fit into Bhagat's stereotypes of urban sophisticated rich people and provincial uncultured poor. So the author is saying that this categorization is very simplistic, that it is not so deep, it has more nuances, it has more layers. His argument does not factor in many other walls around English in India. You are more likely to learn English if you are born a man rather than a woman, higher caste rather than low caste, South Indian rather than North Indian. There is more than one kind of even and more than one kind of E2. And there is more than one way E2s can overthrow E1s. One is to speak it like they know it. So basically, the author is now concluding that it's not so simple. There are more layers. It's not just urban rural divide. There are other layers such as gender, classes, regional, North India, South India. So all these are also the factors that should be taken in. Mr. Chetan Bhagat has not factored in those in his categorization. So they should be taken in, and this matter needs more nuanced understanding. And in order to, for E2 to gain some position, they have to like be very confident in their own self and like speak it like they know it, be themselves. That's what this passage is saying. Okay, I hope you've understood this. Now let's get to the questions. Which of the following can be inferred about the author's views on English in contemporary India? Okay. Option A, the ability to speak English in India depends on the place and social identity. Option B, English is not an Indian language. That's a fact, but that's not an inference from the passage. Option C, English language fluency does not necessarily imply competence. That's not the case. That I mean, in fact, right from the first point, the passage is saying, but that does not imply necessary competence is true. uh, People's views on English are divided along political lines. That's not relevant. I mean, there is no such mention. So the option A is the correct option. The ability to speak English in India depends on the place and social identity. This is the main inference. Okay, because the first line says English encodes class in India, income, caste, gender, religion, or place of belonging. Okay, so English basically all strengthens these divisions. Okay, so this is the inference. Who among the following would defy Chetan Bhagat's neat categorization of Indian English speakers into E1 and E2? So we came across this categorization with Mr. Chetan Bhagat. He has categorized the whole society into category, even the elites, the smaller section, but who have a better command over English. E2, the masses, larger in number, but relatively lesser command over the language. Okay, so option A, Savita, an above average student in an English medium school in Mumbai, belongs to an upper middle class family. Public speaking makes her extremely nervous and she fumbles through all her interviews. Okay, but here we are seeing that Savita is above average student. She's in an English medium school, so that's exactly classic even. So she is upper middle class. Is going to the English medium school as the even category people are supposed to be doing. She has issues with public speaking, but her language is not a problem. Option B, Moin, once a milkman in Ranchi, learns English at the age of 17. After a lot of hard work, he becomes an instructor of spoken English at a thriving institute. So, as the E2 category says that these people are not, these people are somebody who cannot gain access to English, and hence they cannot perform well because of the lack of understanding of English. This person is actually defying the categorization by Mr. Chetan Bhagat. So option B is your option, because according to the E2, they will not be able to perform, and hence spoken English will always be a barrier for them. But that's not the case here. So it is defying the categorization of Mr. Chetan Bhagat. Now let's look at question 23. Which of the following best describes the author's response to Bhagat's views on English? Author dismisses his views as self-appointed expert. He does call him self-appointed expert, but he does not dismiss his view, because we see even at the end he uses his own Chetan Bhagat's categorization to make his own point as well. So he's not dismissing the views of Chetan Bhagat. The author completely agrees with his views. Of course not. He's saying it is not nuanced enough. It has more layers. The author neither agrees nor disagrees with his views. Okay. The author considers his views and finds that they lack nuance. So option D is there. That he says that okay, this is not simplistic. There are more factors to be taken into account. That's what the author is saying. So option D is your best option. Which of the following can be inferred from Gandhi's views with respect to English in post-independence India? So we did this one. Option B, English proficiency is vital in order to gain entry into the bureaucracy. We've also done this one. All the following pairs of words are synonyms except option B, sophisticated and spoiled. Okay, so I think the video has gone on to a very long point by now, and I'm afraid that your patients would start giving up soon. So let's end this video at this point. This English section was kind of longish in 2023. So the passages were also quite long, and the number of questions were also quite high. There are total 30 questions. So we will do the last passage in the next video. So thank you so much for your patience, and keep practicing, because that's your only way to get through this exam. Okay. Thank you so much. See you.